If there is one person at work capable of quietly stalling your career without ever raising their voice, it is the difficult coworker. And here's the uncomfortable part. If you are dealing with one right now, there is a very good chance they fit into one of the 5 categories I am about to walk you through. Every office has them. Every team, every department, every company, no matter how polished the culture looks from the outside. My name is Dre, and on this channel, I pull back the curtain on corporate life, the workplace dynamics nobody warned you about, and the career decisions that actually change your trajectory. Today, we are doing both. First, I am going to help you recognize the 5 coworkers you genuinely need to keep at arm's length, so you can spot them long before they cost you anything. Then, near the end, I am going to show you the one strategy that protects you from every single one of them at the same time. If that sounds worth your time, do me a quick favor and tap the like button. It tells the algorithm to push this video to other people who need it. All right, let's get into it. The first coworker you need to watch for is the one I call the coaster. You have almost certainly met this person. They are charming, easy to talk to, and somehow always in the right room at the right moment. The coaster might genuinely be talented, but here is the thing. They have learned they do not need to be. Somewhere along the way, they figured out that the system rewards them no matter what, so they have quietly settled into doing the bare minimum while collecting maximum credit. People like the coaster. The leadership team especially likes the coaster, and that is not an accident. When senior people look at this person, they see a younger version of themselves, and promoting them feels less like a decision and more like a reflex. So opportunities flow toward the coaster without much resistance, while you are over here documenting every win just to be taken seriously. You can usually spot this person by a simple pattern. They are always visible in the meetings that matter, and strangely invisible when the real work gets assigned. They speak with total confidence about projects they barely touched, and nobody questions it because confidence plus likability reads as competence to most people. Now here is what I want you to understand, because this part matters. The coaster usually is not malicious. They might occasionally talk over you in a meeting or quietly absorb credit for a project you actually carried, but they rarely do it on purpose. They are simply so used to good things landing in their lap that they never stop to ask whether they earned them. That makes them frustrating to work next to, but it does not make them dangerous. The next coworker is a very different story. The second coworker to avoid is the broker. The broker deals in one currency, and that currency is information. If you traced 90% of the gossip in your office back to its source, you would almost always end up at this person's desk. The broker is endlessly curious about your personal life, not because they care about you, but because details are leverage, and leverage can be spent later. They know which project is about to be canceled, which manager is on thin ice, and who is quietly interviewing elsewhere. Imagine how helpful that would be if they used it to support the people around them. They do not. The broker decides who hears what, feeds selective information to selective people, and quietly enjoys the confusion that follows. A little chaos, a missed update, a meeting invite that somehow never reached you. That is the broker operating, and they tend to be deeply passive-aggressive about all of it. They rarely confront you directly. Instead, they let the gap in your information embarrass you in front of someone who matters, then act surprised that you were not in the loop. Here is the small silver lining, though. The broker is usually not hiding what they are. They wear their reputation openly, almost proudly, which means you always know exactly who you are dealing with. The next coworker offers you no such warning. The third coworker you need to be careful with is the frenemy, and this is the one that catches good people off guard. The frenemy is genuinely warm. They are helpful. They are encouraging. They are the person you turn to for advice when you are unsure of yourself. When your manager is unfair to you, the frenemy is the one who pulls you aside and tells you that you deserve better. And for a long time, all of that is real. That is exactly why this works. The frenemy earns your trust honestly, over months, sometimes years. But there is a condition attached to that loyalty, and the condition is that supporting you never costs them anything. The moment the two of you are competing for the same promotion, the moment one of you has to take the blame for a mistake, the moment your success starts to dim their spotlight, the frenemy will quietly choose themselves. They might shift blame onto you, criticize you when you are not in the room, or use your network and then make sure you do not benefit from it. When it comes down to you or them, the friendship loses. The one upside is that healthy competition can sharpen you. A capable rival can push you to advocate for yourself and aim higher than you would alone. But never confuse a rival for an ally. The next coworker will test your patience more than any other. The fourth coworker is the loyalist. The loyalist has decided that the fastest route to success is total devotion to whoever holds power above them. They follow every rule to the letter, volunteer for every request the boss makes, and will defend even the most unreasonable company policy with a straight face. But here is where the loyalist becomes a genuine problem for you. If you bend a rule, vent about your manager, or make a mistake you would rather keep quiet, the loyalist is the first person to report it upward. One of the main ways they make themselves look reliable is by making everyone around them look careless by comparison. Underneath the performance, the loyalist is usually insecure. They are often perfectly capable of doing the job well, but they are not naturally liked the way the coaster is. And they are not smooth the way the frenemy is. So loyalty becomes their entire strategy. Around the loyalists, assume nothing is private, and assume that anything you say in frustration will eventually reach the person you least wanted to hear it. The hardest part is that the loyalist often does not see themselves as the villain. In their mind, they are simply being responsible, holding the team accountable, doing what the boss would want. That self-image is exactly what makes them so consistent and so difficult to predict. Still, as exhausting as they are, the loyalist's ambition is mostly contained. They want to be seen as dependable, not to dominate. That is not true of the final coworker on this list. The fifth coworker you need to avoid is the empire builder, and this is the most dangerous one of all. The empire builder is ambitious in the most obvious, unfiltered way possible. They look at you and every other colleague not as teammates, but as obstacles standing between them and the top. If you do something impressive and the empire builder is anywhere nearby, expect them to fold your work into their own story. They consistently inflate their contributions, and the unsettling part is that they often seem to believe their own version of events. But it does not stop at exaggeration. The empire builder will actively work against you. They withhold information, hand you the wrong details on purpose, refuse to introduce you to the right people, and stall on their part of a shared project even when a manager has told them to move. Every obstacle they place in your path exists for one reason. Making you look weaker is the only reliable way they know to look stronger. You will often notice that the empire builder is friendliest right before they need something from you and coldest right after they have gotten it. Underneath all of it sits a remarkably fragile ego and a long list of behaviors you would recognize as textbook narcissism. The empire builder is the one coworker on this list with no real silver lining, and the one you most need to keep a firm, deliberate distance from. So before we talk about what to do, I want to hear from you. Out of these five, the coaster, the broker, the frenemy, the loyalist, and the empire builder, which ones have you actually worked with? Just one, a couple, or have you somehow collected the full set? Tell me in the comments, because honestly, reading those is one of my favorite parts of doing this. Now let's talk about how you actually protect yourself, because spotting these people is only useful if you know what to do next. The first thing you have to accept is that there is no escaping them. These personalities exist in every organization, at every level, and changing jobs simply hands you a new cast playing the same roles. So the goal was never avoidance in the literal sense. It is recognition. And recognition is what gives you control. Here's the single most important rule. Whenever one of these coworkers does something to provoke you, undermine you, or genuinely get under your skin, your first move is to not react. I want to be clear about why. A visible reaction is the exact outcome most of these people are quietly hoping for. The moment you get frustrated, defensive, or emotional in front of them, you have stepped onto their field and started playing their game by their rules, and they have far more practice at that game than you do. Staying composed is not weakness. It is you refusing to compete on their terms. The coworker who provoked you is expecting a story they can tell later, a version of events where you were the one who lost control. When you deny them that story, you take away the only real power they had over you. But not reacting is only half of it, because while you are busy managing difficult people, you are still letting them set the agenda for your career. If you want to genuinely neutralize all 5 of these coworkers at once, you have to shift your energy somewhere far more productive, and that is building your own reputation. Most workplace conflict gets its power from ambiguity. When leadership is not completely clear on the value you bring, gossip, credit stealing, and quiet sabotage all have room to operate. But when your contributions are visible, when your manager and their manager already understand what you deliver and what you are capable of, that uncertainty disappears, and most of this drama loses its grip almost on its own. The more deliberately you invest in your own work, your own visibility, and your own professional story, the more all of this background noise fades into the background where it belongs. Think of it this way. The coaster, the broker, the frenemy, the loyalist, and the empire builder all rely on the same blind spot. They count on the people above you not having a clear, independent picture of your value. Every time you close that gap, by communicating your results clearly, by making sure your manager understands what you contributed, by being known for something specific, you remove the leverage these coworkers were planning to use. You are not fighting them directly. You are simply making their tactics stop working. You will still need to work alongside these people. Neutral, professional, functional relationships matter, and you cannot simply wall yourself off from half the office. Different coworkers call for different tactics, and I have plenty of other videos breaking down how to handle each of these types one by one. But the foundation underneath all of it stays the same. Protect your focus, protect your reputation, and refuse to play games that were designed for you to lose. If this video helped you see your workplace a little more clearly, subscribe before you go. That is the best way to make sure the next one finds you, and it genuinely helps the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.